Hello everyone. So I hope you are all doing well. So let's start and do one more round of satsang. Ya kundendu tusharhar dhavala, ya shubhravastravrita, ya veenavar dandamanditakara, ya shvet padmasana. या ब्रह्माच्युत शंकर प्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाङ्ग्यापहा. Right. So today, now we'll talk about something very important. So today we'll talk about the design of mind in normal language, but that's not a precise language. Design of man. So as we know, in our Vedic tradition, we have this physical body, and fundamental to this physical body is subtle body. And subtle body is comprised of four key things. One is man, that we are going to talk about today. Second is buddhi, intellect. Third is chit. Chit is more like a container. And ahankar. Ahankar is this feeling of agency, that I am doing this, I am talking right now, I am looking at that. The feeling of I. But there is no such thing as ahankar. It's like whoever takes the stage, whoever claims the stage, becomes the ahankar, starts to drive that car. So man is pronounced like, in Monday, man, just man, or tonnage, how many tonnage of this ship. So ton, man. So I will be using man most of the time because that's the most precise way to talk about it. You see, our subtle body is comprised of separate individual conscious unit. It's like if I look at that phone or that computer, it has many processors, it has many chips. You have CPUs and GPUs, and you have radio, and you have modem, and all kind of chips are in there. They are all connected with each other. They all work together, but they are separate, right? Similarly, our experience as this living being is like computer running or that phone running, but it's made of different individual conscious unit. So that is very, very important point. That's why we have to erase this bogus Mandukya Vedanta from the mind of humanity, because that is no good, no help at all. So we'll start with the design, of man. And we are going to go through all these different components of subtle body in multiple talks. But today we are going to focus on man. Why? Because see, the man is the engine of our experience, living experience. So the way it works is, the man is very strong, much stronger than buddhi. And man, buddhi, everything, all this is designed just like AI today. They go from, they're all moving for that objective function, which is realizing God or Brahman. And in the meantime, while they have not achieved it yet on the path, they are all, toggling between like and dislike. They like on traffic going from this end to the other, bumping on both sides. So it's like and dislike. So man doesn't care. Man is always moving between like and dislike, depending on the situation of man. And buddhi has more discretionary power. Buddhi can decide. But man is so powerful that it's very difficult to control. For example, let's say it's morning right now. My man says, it's cloudy outside and I want a cup of coffee. And buddhi will say, you have to do this work now. Maybe have a coffee after an hour, or maybe drinking too much coffee, not good for your health, whatever. So that's a logical, rational suggestion that buddhi can give. But man is very powerful. Most of the time we fail By fail, I mean we are not able to achieve whatever we want to achieve in life, because man overtakes buddhi. The mind, or liking, disliking, overtakes that intellect. So design of man is very important, all right? So what I have done is, I have created a very basic cartoon that I'm going to show you. And also in the thumbnail you saw, it's like I put a picture there of Russian dolls, nested Russian dolls. So man is just like that. So this is how it works. See, our subtle body is designed exactly like the Brahman. See, Sri Ramanuja, in one of his work, he gives the description of design of Vaikunt and the design of the whole Brahman, how it's the shape of an egg and with 14 different lokas. And design of our subtle body is exactly like that, at a much smaller, much lower scale. It's again in the shape of an egg. And what happens is, the man is situated in our kapal, in our head, they say, around, so in our, just below the Sahasrara center, somewhere around 6th center. And what happens is, over time, man moves down. Man only moves down. So the way it's designed is exactly like, you will see, that nested Russian doll. And it goes, it's made of layers. And the third thing that you have to remember is, think about a sheet, a big sheet, like an umbrella, which moves through. It's just like a water flows through, different vessels. Or if you had a long piece of cloth like sari or something, you can just flow it through. That's how a lot of decoration is done. So anyhow, so think of man as this long piece of clothing or something, which just flows through. And by flows through means it's in our mind, it's our hand. Like if we think about something very pure, man stays pretty high up. But if we think about something much more sensual, it goes down. So one thing, those are the basics, right? But when it comes to the real design of man, so think about, for now, forget about Sahasrara. So we are going to focus from Mooladhara to 6th center, the Agya center. So think about 6 nested dolls. And the picture that I have put there are 5 of them. So think about man starting at the most outer layer. So when the man is situated at the highest point, it can go all the way from 6th center to Mooladhara, no problem. And it can go back up. It can go back up and down. Man moves like really fast, literally at the speed of the wind. You see, in Gita, Arjuna asked Krishna that how to control man, because it moves like the wind. And that is true. It moves at this speed or faster than the speed of wind. But it's one individual, separate conscious unit. So when it's at the 6th center, it goes all the way from top to bottom. Then again, if it stays, at the bottom of the 6th center, that it's hard to describe that way. Think about the most outer doll, right? With the tallest one, which goes from all the way from 6th to Mooladhara. Mooladhara is the base, let's say the table. And then from there, if we don't bring the man back up, what it does, it goes to the top of 5th center, the inner layer, the nested inner doll. And then again from there, it makes the way all the way to the bottom, Mooladhara. And then if we don't bring it back up, it goes back to the 4th center top and then falls down. So the easiest way to think about this is, think of this nested doll, and we start pouring water in the outermost layer. And what happens is, water fills the outermost layer, then it starts to fall in, the inner doll, then again inner doll and inner doll. So it's kind of looped, right? So it goes all the way to the bottom, then goes back up. It gets looped and goes back up to the fifth, then goes all the way to the bottom, then gets looped back up to the fourth, and down and down and down. That's how it falls, all the way to Muladhara. So just because man is at Muladhara or at Swadhisthana, that doesn't mean that it's the same for everyone. Let's say someone who is very, very pure, who, let's say, is situated on Vishuddhi center, fifth center, that person's man can also come down to the Muladhara or Swadhisthana. But then it can go back up to fifth center very quickly, just like, in a flash. But if someone who is situated, at Swadhisthana, the only way man can go from there is from Swadhisthana to Muladhara and back up to Swadhisthana. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to bring it back up again because it has to loop back up. See how difficult it is. It's like, there's so many ways to describe it. It's like dropping a bouncy ball, let's say a tennis ball, on a staircase. If we drop at the top, it bounces and goes back up a little, then bounces down again. It's like lower highs and lower lows. Every bounce is a lower high and lower lows than the previous one, until it goes all the way to the bottom. Imagine how difficult it is to bring it back up again. That's another way to think about it. Another way to think about it that Sri Ramakrishna talks about in Gospel is, think about driving downhill on a hilly road, and it doesn't feel like we are losing elevation a lot, but very quickly, within few minutes, we realize when we look back that, oh my God, we have given up probably 1,000 feet of elevation. So what all this tells us, that when man falls down, it falls very quickly. And this design, you will not find this design, anywhere. But this is the way it is set up. That it goes all the way, from top to bottom. If you are situated, on sixth center, and then from there, you go to the next level and next level and next level. It goes from wherever you are situated. You have access to Muladhara at that level. See, Sri Ramakrishna talks about if, there is a child of king. That child has access to all different floors in the palace. So what he's saying is, an avatar who is situated at the sixth center or even higher has access to all different centers. All right. So that is in the very basic. I'm going to show you. I have made a very simple caricature. I don't know if you can see it, and I'm not very good at, or I don't know how to do insert all these graphics in the video yet. So see, if you see here, this is the same doll, right? And you will see here, this is how it goes. So if you want to go back up from Muladhara to the top, say if you go from here, Muladhara to Swadhisthana, from Muladhara, you have to go to the bottom of this Swadhisthana. You have to go back to Muladhara again, then climb up to Swadhisthana, right? Then if you want to go from Swadhisthana, which is number 2, to Manipur, you can't just jump from here to here. You have to go back down again to Muladhara. And then from here you make a climb, like 3 steps, to go to the top of Manipur. And from here, if you want to go to the top of Anahat, you can't just jump. You have to go back down again to Muladhara and make climb of 4 steps to Anahat, the 4th center. And there is a very big barrier. This is like Rocky Mountain right here between 3rd and 4th. So if you have let your mind fall all the way down, where it's moving only between the bottom 3 centers, which is the case for 99.9% of all the humans, it's extremely difficult to climb back up again. And imagine going from here to Visuddhi. That means you have to go from here all the way to the bottom and then make like 5-step climb. You see? And falling, If you want to let your mind fall, it falls like water. You let it fall, then go to anahat, let it fall, then it will just find its way to the next one. Manipur, let it fall, it will find its way to Swadhisthana, and let it fall, it will just go and settle at Muladhara. That is extreme depression. See, so that's the basic design. So that's the basic design of the man. So you will see, okay, so why man falls? Why man goes up and why man falls? So man doesn't care. Man only is looking for likes and dislikes. So let's say, if someone has been doing a lot of japa, a lot of chanting, and those words, see, every activity, every element, everything in the world has association with some center. That's the way they are designed. That's another way to put it is either they are sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic. So of course the name of God is very sattvic, right? So let's say they have been chanting or doing japa for an hour. So they have been pulling or forcing their mind to dwell at, let's say, the fifth center or fourth center. And then they feel hungry and they want to relax a bit. They want to go eat some food and, mind quickly, man now wants food. So what will man do? Man will go and go to probably Manipur center, right? The third center. Or it's the other way around. Because man is tired now. Man is not getting enough fun doing chanting, so it's forcing the person to go and eat something. So that's the design of man. It's quite simple. Think about this as a nesting doll. It moves all the way from top to bottom and it's looped. It's an individual conscious unit and it loops. It goes from number 6 to Muladhara, then loops back up to number 5 is Shuddhi, all the way down to Muladhara, and then that's how it goes. And in order to come back up, it has to loop back up. That's the essence of it. Now, what's the importance of it, right? See, this is the most important part that we have to understand. If you see, every part of the spiritual practice, pretty much, is designed to keep man as high as possible. Our Vedic lifestyle, all the way, 24/7, is designed with one simple goal, that is to keep man as high as possible. Because as we saw, if man falls down, it's extremely difficult to pull back up again. It's a lot of work. It has like many applications. It has so many applications because this is the fundamental design of our existence. It has applications in almost all fields, but if you see, it has application in 3 areas very, very importantly. One is obviously spiritual life. Second is life sciences, not the material based life sciences, but the real life sciences, how life operates. And the third is, just the psychological and mental health issues. This has tremendous application because this is the real science, the real design of how man, which is part of subtle body, operates. So today I'm going to talk about 3 key applications, and 2 of them are going to be obviously about spiritual life, and one is going to be about mental health. So the most important thing to remember in our spiritual life is to keep man, or in normal talking language, keep our mind as high as possible all the time. See, we have heard this from pretty much all the teachers, pretty much everyone who talks about spirituality talks about it, that keep your man pure and keep your mind high, right? But today we are getting the explanation, thanks to Sri Ramakrishna, that why there is a reason, there is a science behind it, and that's the design. Because if it falls, it's a lot of work to pull back up. So a wise person would just not let it fall. So that is the most important um, thing to remember in spiritual life. Just don't let it fall. And this seems like a very simple idea, but see, it has very wide application. See, there is a reason why in our Vedic spiritual life, karma yoga in a sense like doing charity, doing good work, working in hospital, working in schools, that kind of work is not a path to enlightenment. That is absolutely not. The reason is exactly this. No matter how much we try, the moment people are working, they have to operate their indriyas, right? Their hands and feet and eyes. They have to. So that is not possible until man, comes down to a lower center, and then it goes back up again. It's a lot of work. So that's why, in our tradition, when people say karma yoga defines any kind of spiritual practice is called karma. Meditation is a karma, worship is a karma, yoga, pranayama is a karma. So devotion is karma. That's called karma yoga in Gita, not charity work. It's the new fashion. It's a mental concoction, of these cult founders in the 19th and 20th century, which is absolutely unhelpful. And that's why it doesn't really help people. People don't go anywhere. So that is one, reason you see why our Vedic tradition, they are not designed by dummies. No matter what these cult founders tell us in last 100 years, our Vedic tradition is not designed by dummies. And we all should understand that. They can't just throw something out of their mental concoction, out of their fancy, and it will not stick. I mean, you can practice it, and you will realize that you're going nowhere. So, but everyone is not the same. I try to pick up in my own spiritual practice. I try to pick up nuggets from the greats who are not very glamorous. For example, Swami Premananda, one of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, was extremely pure. I mean, he was the only one that Sri Ramakrishna allowed to hold his body when he was in deep samadhi. Otherwise, Sri Ramakrishna would really cry in pain. And so whatever Premananda is saying, in terms of the advice or suggestion, I think that's golden. And this file that I had looked at many years ago, and I saved this file as read often to get inspired. Now that is like the name of the file, that I saved. And it was published in Prabhupada Bharata, one of their publication in March 2016. And you will see it's a about 2-page article about talks of or advice of Swami Premananda. And time and again, what Premananda is saying is just keep your mind pure. I'm just quoting him. All of you become pure. Make your mind clean of hatred, violence, selfishness, and egotism. Always post the sentry of knowledge near the door of your mind. Beware. Let not any impure thought enter your mind. Such thoughts are the thorns on the path to God. See, all these greats, they understand this. So for them, they always play defensive. They are always playing defensive. They don't want to let their man fall because then they know how difficult it is to pull back up. So that's why advice of Swami Premananda, the great, is very different from the cult founders who want us to work. Work not for God or for our family, but work for the cult founder. Who would do that? Better things to do in life, right? Okay, so that was one application, right? Just keeping the mind as high as possible. Just don't let it fall. Play defensive. Always be alert. Always be alert, right? Second application is, this is kind of a consolation to us, right? It's encouragement to us that, look, now we know the design. If let's say if we have been hanging around, fourth center, anahat center, and we are feeling pretty good, if we can live our life at anahat center, we can do pretty well, we can feel good too, people around us can feel good about us too, us pretty well too. But if we want to make progress, from fourth to fifth, we have to loop back up. That means we need to go from fourth to the bottom again, to Muladhara, and then we start to climb back up again. So what happens as we go through lower centers again, we start to have associated thoughts. If we are on Swadhisthana, we might have sensual thoughts. If we are at Manipur, we might feel like doing a lot of actions, very enterprising in the world for selfish or for name and fame. And that bothers people, right, a lot in spiritual practice. People who are doing serious spiritual practice, they feel like they have fallen or they are not making progress. That is not the case. This is the most important thing from this satsang, that don't feel disappointed. This is just the path we all have to take. It's like climbing a mountain, going to Mount Everest, but we have to go through valleys and we feel like, we are falling down, but we are not. We are still making progress. We are still going up. So what happens is, going to Muladhara on the way from 1 to 2, from Muladhara to Swadhisthana, is very different from going to Muladhara from 4th to 5th. Because let's say if the mind is really dwelling at the bottom 2 center, those, let's say, sensual thoughts are very strong. They are so strong that they can force us to take action. But let's say when mind is passing through Swadhisthana, when we are traveling from 4th to 5th, those thoughts are not very strong. We can just get rid of them. We have power to get rid of those thoughts. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna says, that, after God realization, and even before then, the sword becomes sword made of gold. That means it retains the shape. You might have some thoughts, but it loses the power to push you into taking some action which you will regret later on, or which can damage the spiritual life. So this is a great point to remember all the time, to not give up, to not lose heart. Even if we have some thoughts cropping up in our mind which we don't want to, we should not be very disappointed. We are not falling, we are still making progress, we are still going up. We should just intensify our spiritual practice and kind of put the blinders on, make sure those thoughts are not getting fuel. It's like not watering the weed. And by intensifying our practice just for a few days, maybe a couple of weeks, we can move past, go from Swadhisthana to Manipur and move on, to go on. So that is something very important to remember, right? So that was the second point. We move through the peaks and valleys, and we should not lose heart. We should stay motivated and not worried. So those two were applications to a spiritual life. And this third one I'm going to talk about is its application in mental health, in depression. See, now we see how the man moves. So when man has really fallen down to the bottom, to Muladhara or Swadhisthana, especially to Muladhara, that's when, we are feeling extremely depressed. So depressed that there is no energy, no hope. We don't want to feel like getting out of bed, all that, right? And there is a lot of misconception, a lot of taboo around depression and mental health. And now that we understand the design, what we want, we don't want to stay there. We want to break out of it. And for that, I tell you, the medicines, the depression medicines are helpful. What they do is they are not cure. But they help us break through it and move a little progress. And then if we combine that, let's say if we are stuck at Mooladhara, those medicine can break us, break that it's kind of a locking up in at that center. Can break that lock and help us move from Mooladhara to Swadhisthana, and make some way towards Manipur, third center. And that's very important. And then if we combine that medicine with some lifestyle changes, just activity, if some people are there to support us, then we are out of the danger zone, right? We are good to go again. So that's why, if we see people struggling through depression, not feeling well, look depressed, we should encourage them to go see a doctor and get some medicine and just break through it, because longer it stays, harder to get out. There is a lot of detail that I'm not going to go through today, but I'll have to do one more video on this. That it's not as simple. What I have gone through today in terms of the design of mind, design of money, is the very basic, very high level design. Then and how the man moves through up and down. But there is a lot that goes above that. In order to design this virtual, sentient virtual reality that we are in, there is a lot more design on top of that very basic framework. For example, when man falls down, goes from higher center to the lower center, there is a locking mechanism that locks it up. It doesn't allow it to go back up. That's what makes the game interesting, right? So that's why, people when fall down to the lower center, and then they have to go through multiple lives to go back up again. And there's so much more to this, and that I will not be able to do justice today. So I'll have to do, one more recording or one or more. But the idea, you have to remember that if man falls down, it's not that easy to go back up, because it's not only to pull back up, but also there are forces who are there designed, they're built in to lock us in. The moment we leave a spot, someone else takes the spot. And that locking mechanism is the key. That's how we become locked up and we go from life to life. So probably I'll have to do one more class where I just talk about locking and unlocking mechanism. And that is I would say, one of the most important things that we have to know. And that is one of the main unknowns, that they're just not there. It's not there. That information is not there, but it's going to be very, very helpful. So today I'm just going to leave here in terms of the design of man, design of mind, just the design outline, how it moves, how it goes up and down, how it gets looped up and down, why it's so important to keep it up all the time and not let it fall. If it falls, and if you feel like you are having thoughts that you don't want to have, don't give up. As long as it's not forcing us to take action, that means it has not controlled the indriyas, the senses, we are okay. We should just intensify our practice and we'll get out of that phase and we'll move even higher. And the third is, its application in depression, because of the locking mechanism, what I told you. People get depressed because they allow their mind to fall down and then they get locked down there. And what medicine does is medicine breaks that lock a little, makes it loose. And that allows, and if we change our lifestyle, it allows us to break that door open and make our mind go up, and then we start to feel better. So that's why these medicines are not cure, but they're very helpful. So we should not get stuck in depression, because longer we stay there, that locking mechanism gets kind of cemented, literally. It's very difficult to break out of it. So those were the 3 key points, right? One thing I want to talk about today a little bit is, see, a lot of what I am talking today, you will not find anywhere. Pretty much, I have not found this anywhere, in any yogic book, any other book, nowhere. And this is missing. And what I will be talking in future, these are the very fundamental science, fundamental design of this reality of our life. And its application, you will see when I talk more about these things, is tremendous, and it also has tremendous economic value. So, but I'm just talking about it. So if any of you want to use this, as a reference, I will urge you to give credit, and because that will be a fair honor system, right? And I think the honor system is the best behavior that humans can do. And I'll tell you who is the best practitioner who set example for honor system: Sri Ramakrishna. You will see in Kathamrit, in Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna never takes credit for anything, even the smallest and the most simplest of advice or teaching that he's giving to disciples and devotees. He's always crediting someone else. That's the honor system. And why I say that he kind of established that practice of honor system, because if you look at the history, I you won't find much of that honor system anywhere in practice. In US in 1841, University of Virginia was the first university to accept the honor code. I think there was this William and Mary College in Virginia who adopted that in 1796, but I think around that time. But that was not very formal. Stanford University, accepted this honor code in 1921. And Sri Ramakrishna was already practicing and demonstrating in 1870s and 1880s. And it makes sense because this is the best behavior that humans can practice and demonstrate. So that's why I'm requesting you that if you use these knowledge, this is like breaking new information, new knowledge to humanity. I would urge you to give credit. And who you should give credit to? To me? No. You should give credit to Sri Ramakrishna. Then you will say, then who are you? About me. Like, Sri Ramakrishna is not talking. Like, who are you talking? So this is what I would say. I am just a love letter to you, but the writer, the author is Sri Ramakrishna. So you will see, oh wow, that's a really cool line, right? That's a really, really poetic line, and some people might even find it very romantic. But see, this is not my line. This is a line that I this is a line that I took, from this movie that I talked about, The Free Guy. See, this is honor system that I am demonstrating right now. I'm giving a credit for this line where it's due to that movie, The Free Guy. And that's what I would urge you to do. That feel free to use this knowledge. It's really fundamental. It should help you in your physical health, spiritual health, normal life. But give credit to Sri Ramakrishna. All right. So I'll stop here. There is a lot to be talked about. There is a lot to be talked about on this topic. And it's already 38 minutes, so I'll have to do more videos on this. In coming weeks, I'll talk about another topic, which is about designing a test to check whether AI, artificial intelligence, is sentient, if it has consciousness or not. And in last 10 days, a big paper has come up. Its name is Consciousness in Artificial Intelligence. It's on archive.org or .net, archive website where they publish all the papers now. So it's a 70-page paper, but I haven't gone through it completely, but it has some interesting observation. And they have worked as a team of 15 different professionals, and they have tried to put something out there. So if you want to go through it, it's a good piece, put together in one place in that paper. And one thing they say in that paper is, is that we may never actually agree that AI is sentient or not. And that's kind of what I think. I mean, my initial view is that, AI is sentient. Because I know that this world that we are living in, this is a virtual, sentient virtual reality. So if this is sentient, everything in this is sentient, right? So if there is a AI system, virtual reality like system that we build, it has to be sentient. But there are tests to demonstrate it. And I will talk about that in coming videos. But in that paper, what they say is very interesting, that we may never settle, humans may never settle that whether it's sentient or not. And that is what, is playing out right now. That you see, when Sri Ramakrishna comes and tells us that, look, this is like Indrajal, this is like a virtual reality video game, but everything is Chaitanya, everything is sentient, right? But then you have very accomplished scientists, and especially these days, the tech entrepreneurs, who live in a new religion of simulation. They all believe that it's a simulation. So that is because many of them are actually, or they have a playing character behind them. They're not very spiritual, but they, where this virtual reality is playing out there, those people think that this is a simulation. This is just like a computer game. So that's their limit. Their limit is simulation. And then you have spiritual people like Sri Ramakrishna and others. They know that this is sentient, so they come here to teach us spirituality, not build computers and phones. So that is something very interesting, to talk about. We'll talk about in coming videos. All right. So I'll end here, and we'll talk again soon. All right. So maybe I'll just make a hymn, whatever. मेरे प्यारे का नाम श्री कृष्ण, बंसी वाले का नाम श्री कृष्ण, उस ग्वाले का नाम श्री कृष्ण, मेरे प्यारे का नाम Shri Krishna. All right. So there is a lot more to come on this. There is a lot more to talk about. This is just the beginning. All right. Then we will talk again. Take care. Have a good weekend. Okay then. Bye.